Hello and welcome to the Brutal Iron Gym podcast, where our goal is to cut through the BS and deliver the brutal truth about topics related to health and happiness. Today's podcast is number 1592. The topic is training, and the title is, Does Training Yourself Lead to Mediocrity? So, I was talking with one of my friends, and they sent me a quote. We're kind of discussing back and forth about the possibility of me helping them write some programming. So this person is personal trained on their own. They have a great familiarity with training, but they're really trying to push for some great results very quickly, and they're struggling a little bit with trying to balance achieving everything instantly. So as we all do. So we were talking back and forth, and they sent me a quote, and the quote was, "Training yourself causes mediocrity." And my friend said, "This haunts me." I enjoy putting my stuff together, but I do not have time to be mediocre. So I want to read you my response and my general thoughts to that quote of training yourself causes mediocrity. And I said, oh man, that's a rough quote. I think the biggest reason for that quote is that people aren't great at making themselves do the stuff they're not good at. But for people like us, me, my friend, myself, and overwhelmingly the majority of you, the listeners. But for people like us, we can. We're really good at pushing ourselves into uncomfortable places. If you're listening to this, it means that you have some desire for self-improvement, and you're likely more willing than the average person to push yourself into uncomfortable places, to try uncomfortable things. Now, my friend here, he has done an enormous amount of uncomfortable things. He certainly has absolutely no trouble doing that. So, I continued on and said, one aspect, though, is if I push myself to the limit of my knowledge, then I can only progress at the pace of which I can progress my knowledge. So I can only get better results or faster results or more significant results at the pace in which I can continue to learn more, right? Does that make sense? Like if I've gone to the most of my knowledge, I have to learn more before I can achieve more. So then my rate of progression is limited to the rate of progression of my knowledge. So I can't get bigger results until I learn bigger, right? Until I learn more. So I can't achieve more until I learn more. And I said, well, since you have a full-time job doing other things than fitness at the moment, so he doesn't do personal training anymore as like a full-time job. So I said, since you have a full-time job doing other things, that will limit the progression rate of your knowledge, and thus it'll limit the rate of your progress, so the progress in your training. Right? Kind of makes sense. So this isn't what he does all damn day. So whatever time he can squeeze out of the day to learn more is all the more that he'll be able to achieve greater results. So it's going to be very limited. So I said getting someone to help whose full-time job is progressing their training knowledge, then that would help progress you at a faster rate. So training yourself doesn't cause mediocrity, but it can cause a limit. And getting someone else to help can help work beyond that limit. So, training yourself does not automatically mean that you'll be mediocre. It does present limitations. And those limitations may cause you not to achieve the greatest possible results or the fastest possible results, which might seem as though it's mediocre. So it's not that training yourself causes mediocrity, it's the limitations of training yourself that causes mediocrity. And what that means is then you have to address those limitations. So you can train yourself and do amazing things. Or you can get somebody to help you train you, and they can reduce those limitations, and maybe you can achieve even greater things, right? So, when would you consider getting someone else to coach you? When is it a time to get someone else to coach you? Well, if you want the greatest possible outcome, then get someone to train you who knows more than you do. If you want the fastest possible outcome, the fastest results, then get someone to train you who knows more than you do, right? That kind of makes sense. Like once you've maximized your knowledge, get someone else to help so it helps as fast as possible or as greatly as possible, instantly, rather than being held back by how fast you can learn, right? And getting someone else to help can actually increase the rate of your own education if the trainer does education well. So my goal, like being a trainer, is to make this podcast every single day so all of my clients can listen to this and learn a lot. Like you can learn something brand new or kind of like relearn something good every day. Hopefully this podcast has some usefulness every single day. I hope so, because I'm taking time to do it. But every single day through the podcast, I'm offering an opportunity to my clients to learn. When I do video reviews, when I answer them back in their individual Q&A journals, when they ask me whatever questions they want, and I answer them, that's education. So we work on that all the time. There's a pretty high degree of education in the way in which I work with my clients. And I love that. I'm excited about that. And I think that that's a great, I don't even know what to say. Like, I don't know what the right word is, but it's a great offering that a trainer should be able to offer to their clients. A great aspect is education. And then also, if you don't have the time to devote 100% to your own needs, getting someone else to help you can help. So, for example, over half of my clients are personal trainers. I love working with personal trainers because I know anything I help them with is going to help everybody they help, right? So it's a big effect, big ripple effect. So I love that over half of my clients are personal trainers. And there's a reason why over half of my clients are personal trainers, because often they're so busy trying to build their business and build their clientele, getting them results and also just increasing the amount of people they can work with, that their own needs are kind of left on the back burner. They'll get a workout in when they can. They'll eat when they can. And then all of a sudden, they feel kind of beat up and joints are hurting, they're tired all the time. Or they look in the mirror and they're like, shit, I'm a trainer and I don't look the way I want. So I train them because I can give 100% time to their needs that they can't. So it makes sense to get someone to coach you if you want the greatest possible outcome, if you want the fastest possible results, if you want to increase your knowledge in a quicker way, in a more precise to your own needs way, and if you don't have the time, given everything else you have to do in your life. Like I said, my client, he has a full-time job. So he's not going to have full-time effort into increasing training knowledge. Why not hire somebody where that's their only job, is to be as smart as possible, and they can help you with all of their knowledge, right? Now, when can you coach yourself? Well, in a transition time. If you're not pushing at the moment for the greatest possible results or the fastest possible results, you're in a little bit of an off season or a transition time, then that will be okay. You can definitely coach yourself and experiment with things and try to learn things, read some books, apply them, that kind of thing. And then also when you want to challenge yourself to test what you've learned. So some of my trainers, like I have one trainer right now, we're doing what we call a consultation approach. So I was doing his nutrition and training programming. And we got to a point where I was writing his program conceptually, then he was plugging in exercises that he wanted to experiment with. And then he said, hey, would you mind if I write the next month? I'll write the program, and then can you just, kind of look it over and give me some tips? And I said, sure. So we kind of structured it with a consultation approach. So he's writing the program, I give some feedback, and then I just check in every week to see how it's going. But it's more so like a guided education. And I love doing that. Like we with all my trainers, we kind of wave in and out of that kind of on a regular basis sometimes. So training yourself, being your own coach, does not make you 100%, destined to be mediocre. No. It does present limits. Abso-freaking-lutely it presents limits. So you have to ask yourself, well, how great do I want to be? How fast do I want the results? How much do I want to know, knowledge-wise? The higher your training outcome is in your life priorities, the greater the need for a coach. So the more impactful the results of your training is to the quality of your life, then the more need you will have for a coach. You can't think of anybody that has a greater need than professional athletes. They get paid based on their performance, right? That's how they make a living. So they need to have the best possible coaching to get the best possible outcome. That's why professional athletes all have coaches. The people whose the training outcome means the absolute most to them have coaches. It's because that coach can give them all of the knowledge they have. They can give them 100% attention. They have what that athlete doesn't have in regards to knowledge and attention capacity. So they get someone to fill in their gaps. So the higher your training outcome is to your life priorities, like how significant, how meaningful it is for your training to be the best, to create the best outcome, the fastest outcome. When you have increased moments of need, getting ready for a summer, getting ready for a deadline, maybe you have a big challenge coming up, you have a competition coming up. When you have things that come up that say, oh man, my training outcome seems to be now more important to me, then that's the best time to get a coach. So can you train yourself? Absolutely. Does it create limitations? Absolutely. So then you decide, well, am I comfortable within those limitations? Am I comfortable with the rate of progress that I can make at the speed in which I can continue to learn? Or do I want more significant results, or I want faster results? And then you get a coach. But that was my thoughts on that quote. And I don't like the feeling that quote is 100% or 0%. It's black and white. So again, the quote was, training yourself causes mediocrity. Not necessarily. But it does present challenges. And you can either choose to overcome those challenges on your own, or you can choose to hire a coach, and they'll fill in those challenges, they'll fill in those gaps for you. And then you can work to fill in the gaps at your own pace, but not in a way that holds you back. Cool. Well, I just thought that was fun. I liked discussing that with the client, with my friend, and just thought it would make a fun podcast. Cool. Okay. Well, if you need anything from me, if you have any questions, feedback, suggestions, anything that you want to know, let me know. My email, brutalirongym@gmail.com. If you like our podcast, please share it. When you share it, let people know that we answer questions for free. That's the whole benefit of the service of the podcast. And then thank you to those who support the podcast with donations. You can do that on our website, www.brutalirongym.com. The donations go 100% towards trying to pay off some of this hosting cost. So thank you very much for everyone who donates to help support some of that cost for me. I really appreciate it. Even just $5 a month, it definitely adds up and it definitely helps. Also, if you like the information we share in our podcast, you can find more from us on our social media channels. I post on Instagram every single day. You can find us on YouTube as well. So find us and follow us under the name Brutal Iron Gym. As always, I hope this was helpful, and thank you for listening.